Here's a quick video of how I get clean cuticle lines with dip powder. It's all in the application. So what I like to do is use a percentage scale basically. So I've already got this nail prepped, and I'm gonna paint Pro Base until right about this area on my nail, about 95% of the way for the first coat. I like to tip the brush off to where I can almost force a nice little bead of the liquid towards the end of the brush tip. So as you can see, it's kind of starting to pool right there on the end. And so that's about just what I want. So I'm going to go directly to that area and just pull down onto my nail. You want to kind of turn your fingers so that you can get really smooth lines along the edge of your nail over here as well. So I turn my nail so I can see that. Obviously, Pro Base is clear and hard to see, so if you have good lighting, that really makes a huge difference as well. Cap your edge, and then I like to kind of scoop up into the powder and then tip the rest of this off. So there's my first layer. And if you get some that's stuck around the edge of your nail, you can always scrape that with a free nail, just like you've seen them do in salons. So then you dust off the powder. You follow all the same steps as just in the application. For the second coat of number 1, I go just about all the way up to my cuticle. I'm going to actually go pretty close, maybe about a millimeter away, all the way to this point. Let's see if I can get a little closer. So my cuticle's right here. They're all dry right now. I can actually push this up a little bit more. So I'm going to get right about a millimeter away from my cuticle. And the way that I do that is I'm going to put the brush onto this same spot where I applied already, and then I'm going to push the brush up. And so that's going to cause the brush to go and kind of fan. And that's how I get this rounded edge over here. So again, the same thing. You want to get a nice little bead, because remember, Pro Base is thicker than nail polish, so it helps itself kind of form into that bead shape. So you do this, force a little bead down to the end, and sometimes for this second layer I have to go back in and dip into the liquid one more time. So you've dusted off, you put it to the same section, and then I push the brush up. And the Pro Base will settle into that little area. I got one more little dip because I didn't grab enough liquid. Then you paint the rest of the nail like you normally do. And then I go back up to my cuticle line one more time just to really smooth that out and get a nice clean line. And then cap my edge. I'm just tapping off powder because my phone's really close to my hand. So that's my second layer. Dust off. And you can kind of tell that it's not perfectly straight right now, but this last layer can really help smooth it out. So for this last layer, I'm going to go all the way up to here and just push just a little bit to kind of smooth in these little grooves that kind of got spaces in between it and just perfect it. So I'm going to dust off as much excess as I can. And I'm going to form a little bit of a bigger bead on this last coat because I want it to be thick there on the last one so my mani can last. So I'm going to go all the way to where I already applied powder and just fan up just a little bit more than that. That way I can fill in those last little grooves and just perfect the cuticle line and make it as smooth as I can. a little bit more powder, or rather Pro Base, and just smooth out this little section. And then I turn my finger so I can get the sides really well as well. And then I just go back up to the cuticle because that spot can dry the quickest. And I'm trying to make it look as good as I can. Smooth that back down, cap my edge, dip into that. And there we go. And if it does end up a little bit weird, you can always fix it real quick. I've got this tiny little brush, and so what I'm gonna do is just rub off that little spot where it wasn't exactly perfect and just smooth over that. And then I'll usually do one more little dunk because sometimes I can scrape off some powder and I want Pro Base to stick there also. Powdered. And there we go. And so then once I activate this, you'll be able to tell a little better that that's a pretty smooth cuticle line. And that's how I do it.